Hey everyone, we're back with another episode where we're actually going to be doing something a little bit different today. I have my cousin Frankie with us. We grew up almost, 90% of our lives together. And
Yeah.
yeah, we're going to talk about fate and destiny for today's episode. And Frankie, just really quick, introduce yourself to, the world.
Well, since my name hasn't been introduced yet, my name is Frankie. I'm a good cousin of Nathan's. We can go as far as saying that we're brothers. We've been hanging out weekly for almost 2 years now, and we've been having these talks. And one day, Nathan was just like, "Man, we should probably record these." And I was like, that is a pretty good idea. So that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, I think that is a good idea, man. But also, I just wanted to put a disclaimer for anyone else who's watching. If you hear noise in the background, there's two reasons for that. Number one, we're Italian, and number two, our family is very loud. But gonna have to deal with it. Never said this podcast was perfect. But anyway, fate and destiny. So, Frank, what do you think is the difference between fate and destiny?
Uh, kind of. Other than the definitions, I feel like that fate is something that you are going to do. Like you know, our fate is all death. It's like it's going to happen. But I feel like destiny is when you find something that you really enjoy and something that you want to do, and you take it upon yourself to start putting a lot of time into it. That's what you call your destiny.
All right. That's a good definition. And yeah. So I would say for me, fate is exactly like you said. We're all fated to live and die, right? And I think destiny
Hmm.
is like the future. Like, let's say you learn guitar. Like, your destiny would be to be up on stage. Like, that's your destiny.
Yeah.
And I mean, it also implies that our lives are shaped by choices that we make, right? And the power to determine our own future. I think that's also another thing for destiny too. And now that we're talking about it, I wanted to ask you, what do you think? Like, are you able to break fate? Like you said, all of our fate, every human's fate is death. But do you think it's possible to break fate?
Well, then we have to look at something. We have to look at the word death. You know, everyone's going to die, but it's not that everyone's going to be forgotten. If you can make such an impact on this world to leave a good mark or a bad one, depends, you are not going to be forgotten. So I feel like if you if you do something that really affects a lot of people, they're going to remember you, and then your fate's going to be kind of changed. It all depends on how you look at death, but your fate is going to be kind of changed that you're going to be remembered as a good thing. Not just, you're not just you die and people forget about you.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's very good. It's very good. And I also just looked up a couple minutes ago, like before I started the podcast episode, fate, by its own definition, is the idea that our lives are predetermined. Like, no matter what we do, like even this podcast right now, this was supposed to happen. That's the idea of fate. Do you think so? Like, do you think that this podcast was influenced by something other than me or you or anyone else?
Well, I don't know if your viewers are religious people, but I'm sort of a religious man myself. I all think that God will has our fate as good. All the endings are going to be good. Like, it doesn't matter. It's God's plan. I'm not. It's not. I don't quote Drake or anything, but it is God's plan. Because if I take something like a really tragic moment in someone's life, and then they start building on that and better themselves, it's God's plan. And towards the end of life, I feel like we're all gonna find happiness one way or another. And I feel like, yeah, have our fate.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah, we discussed fate, and now on to destiny. So that what I said is the future, and you also said kind of the same thing, right? But do you think there's a way to know your destiny, like guaranteed? Like, do you think it's possible to any degree?
It depends on what you want your destiny to be. Like many people, when they get older, they want to help out the future generation and make sure that they have a good life. That's very hard not to do. Like if you have a child and like you're destined to make that child a happy person, or if someone like any rock star really got into music and like he recorded a song and then shared it to viewers and the viewers were really touched and it changed their perspective on life, then that kind of means that that rock star is destined to shape the world to what they think it should be with their music. They're destined to help people and you know help them understand what this thing life is.
Mm-hmm. So you're basically saying that, let's say, because I told my viewers a couple episodes ago that they were gonna soon start to see some music produced by me, right? And my goal with music is to express myself, to let people know what to really think and like to be an individual thinker, right? I also want to incorporate that with my lyrics, and based on what you said, if I do that, then people are going to be individual thinkers, is what you're saying.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's pretty good to know. Um, so it's talking fate and destiny. I feel like it's like it's a very complex question. Like it doesn't even have a good answer or an easy answer, I should say. Like both of our perspectives, it's something that can be viewed very differently depending on who the person is. And I think that's what makes fate and destinies like such a very compelling and powerful thing. Like, because we're all fated, you know, we all have a fate to die, right? But that's also our destiny to do things in life, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Well, 8 minutes into the podcast, I still want to talk about a few more things. Uh, just give me a second. So, yeah,
Hmm.
anyway, what I was saying is, you know, when you say our fate is to die, right? I think it's the idea that, death. Some people are comfortable with that, knowing their fate, and they don't try to change it. Because what did you say earlier when I asked you about, like, if fate can be broken?
Like to look at your opinion of death, because some people like the idea of death. I'm not saying like they like dying. I'm just saying it's good to have an end because without death there would be no reason that we would be recording this, trying to advance in life and staircase off of the things that we did last day. Without like death, there would be no reason for living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I remember I was playing this one video game a few months ago, and one of the, like, video game characters in there said that, like, despite death, we continue to love and stuff. Man, I almost swore we almost had to restart the whole episode, bro. But anyway, yeah, they basically said something like grieving is the culmination of, like, love. Like, to grieve deeply is to have loved fully. So despite the fact that we all know we're gonna pass away one day, like, we all know that one day we're either gonna meet our maker or not, you know. So it's very comforting and tragic, like the fact that every single one of our loved ones eventually at some point or another is going to pass away. But that's also what makes it very beautiful. Like, because we're going to pass away, why not do everything you want to do in life, you know? Like, it's amazing. Frank?
Staircasing off with that, like, if you look at some movies are literally only based off of us wanting to spend more time with others, and it's also the same thing with life. Like, if you have, like, when you're older, we all have to make sure that we spend time with our parents because they're not going to be here the entire time, and it's good to spend moments with them. And if they were here forever, then us meeting up with them and spending time with them, it would have no meaning, no purpose. It would just be lost in time.
Mm-hmm. All right, so yeah, also staircasing off of that, you said that if like we were all here forever and we knew that, then meeting up with one another would have no significant meaning. Like I'll give you the best example of this, viewers. Me and Frankie, we also have two other cousins, Frankie's brother, and then all of our cousins, Nico. Like, and what we do is on the weekends we go to Nicholas and Frankie's grandma, and we just, spend time there, do a lot of things too. And I also have to say that I am very guilty of not wanting to go there or leave super, super early sometimes. And I do still have to work on that. I'm not saying that it's not a problem. But I guess the moral of what I'm trying to say is that, like, moments with your loved ones, they're very precious and they shouldn't be taken for granted. I only not go there because in my mind, subconsciously, in the moment, I think, you know what, dude, I'll just do it next weekend. And then next weekend comes and I end up not doing it. So, that is a very big problem of mine that it is going to get fixed sooner or later. And another thing too, just one last thing about this. Like, Nico would call me almost all the time if I did that and be like, come on, Nathan, why do you gotta do that, And I'm like, I don't really know, dude. I'd rather stay home. And then once he asks me, like, bro, why are you staying home? Because we can do it next weekend. So it all loops around in a giant cycle. And because he even told me that one day we're all gonna die, I was like, okay, but that day is very, very possibly far away. So yeah, that is all I have to say about fate in terms of our cousins and what we do on the weekends,
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when someone goes through a traumatic event, they seem life a lot better. Like, there was this one time I had a surgery, and that was like, I endured a lot of pain. So I was just like, I should do a lot more. I should spend a lot more time with people. I should experiment with more things. I should experience more things. And maybe people who are listening just need some kind of event in their lives to turn around their perspective and finally snap them out of just, their normal routine.
Exactly. And another thing too about that, what you said, like, when people go through traumatic experiences, they look at life way more beautifully. And I 100% agree with that, especially as a man. Like, I don't want to, like, we'll talk about this in another episode, like, in full detail. But just to sum it up in this episode, like, dealing with a lot of trauma, it basically hardens you up and it makes you more, like, less susceptible to being hurt in the same way or taking it very badly in another way. So yeah, like, I think your fate is to go through some traumatic experiences, and this goes for anybody. It doesn't matter, like, man, woman, it doesn't matter. If you go through a traumatic event, you will have a way easier time with traumatic events. It's basic math, So again, I feel like that is also our fate. Like, we're all, every human, even the happiest, like most, like, happiest person in the world, as I was saying, right? like even they have some sort of trauma. Very little, probably, but it's still trauma. And they're still, you know, hardworking and stuff like that. In terms of like working on their trauma, I meant to say, sorry. So yeah, that is also something that we all need to realize. Like, there's no such thing as not getting hurt or like easing the pain. You just have to like wither through the storm, because it's gonna happen. It's your fate. Dude, the second you were born, your fate has been sealed. You're gonna go through some event at some point in your like on average of 70 years of life. You're gonna go through something traumatic, and it's going to hurt you. And you just have to deal with it, you know?
Yeah. See, a thing like that, of having to deal with things, I've learned these past couple of days that even breathing is great. Waking up in the morning and being like, God still wants more out of me, so happy that he woke me up today. That's a great feeling. And even when I'm going through traumatic times, I still like the experiment of it, because not only are you're improving, you're getting better at life, because you're getting experience with things, and all life is great. And I think people should start realizing that even bad times, bad days, sad times, they also bring the people together, and they make something new out of those particular times.
And those words are very powerful, and I agree with them, dude. Everything you said, everything I said, it all wraps around fate and destiny. And viewer, just to wrap up everything we've said, like Too Long Didn't Read, TLDR, right? Just to sum it all up, your fate is already been sealed. I believe in fate. I believe that, whatever put us on here to experience life, I think experiencing life is our fate. And there's nothing we can do. There's nothing you can do to stop that. So at the end of the day, just go out and explore life, But this episode's getting long. I only have so much space to record. So Frankie, are there any last comments or things you want to talk about?
It's good to wash your hands.
It is good to wash your hands. All right. Well, viewer, I hope you have a good day. Frankie, I hope you have a good day. And I'm going to go calm my family down, because they're screaming and they're making this podcast way harder than it should be. And this goes without saying, viewer. I'll see you later in this life or the next.